In today's video, I'm pulling out my Distress Oxide inks to show you how I create seamless background blends. I'll be using unique color combinations and sharing my favorite tips for getting colors to blend perfectly together, so you can also achieve bold, dramatic backgrounds every time. Hi everyone, I'm Mindy Eggen and welcome to my channel. If you're interested in any of the supplies that I'm using today, they will be linked down below in the video description. Now, a couple other of the sets that I'm going to be using today is the Wildflowers background, which is an oldie but a goodie from Simon Says Stamp. I love myself a good silhouette image. And then I also have the Novella Script Hello. Now, in any ink blending, regardless of the ink that you're using, one of the most important things is paper. And there are lots of really great cardstocks out there. I'm going to be using Hammermill Cardstock today, but Concord and Ninth, Gina K, even Nina 80 pound, they're all really great cardstocks. You want something that has a nice, smooth surface to it. Now, this first color combination that I'm going to do for you, I do have two of them. I'm going to be using Wild Honey, Crackling Campfire, and Walnut Stain Distress Oxide inks. One of the unique properties about Distress Oxides is the fact that you can blend over the top of them, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute. Another thing you may notice is that I am using an actual blending tool with a dome foam on it. I know not a lot of people use these anymore since blending brushes came out, but I find I prefer the dome foam versus a blending brush when using the oxides. My blending brushes get really kind of just thick and I can't use them as well. So when it comes to creating an entire background, I like to use these dome foam blending tools. Now, I started my blend with wild honey towards the bottom and I went a little ways past, or I guess I would say a little bit up to the halfway point. But as I got to that halfway point, I was fading off, meaning I got a little light handed in my pressure. Then I came in with Crackling Campfire. I added that to the center and then I also blended it a little towards the bottom and a little towards the top. One of the reasons for that is that we want to be able to overlap these colors to create those seamless transitions. And another thing you're going to want to do is go back over those transitions. You can't just ink blend it and then move on. We need to really work those colors together. Now, this next color I'm bringing in towards the top is a walnut stain. You may also notice that I am starting on my glass work surface and then working my way onto the cardstock. I really do recommend a slick work surface when you are working with, especially the dome foam blending tool, but I guess any type of ink really. I do this kind of technique all the time. So I'm blending in the walnut stain. You can see it is a really harsh line. And this color combination isn't one that I would probably have reached for. To be in full disclosure, these color combinations were inspired by Christina Warner. She did a whole series of different color combinations a while back. And so I found this one on Pinterest and decided to give it a try myself. Now, these backgrounds, once they are actually finished, are not going to look like much. You're probably going to think I'm crazy, but once we add in stamping, or even if you die cut from the panel, it takes on a whole new look. Now, for the second card I'm going to create, I'm going to be using Speckled Egg, Chipped Sapphire, and Crackling Campfire. Again, I started on one end with the Speckled Egg, kind of blended about halfway up, kind of fading off. So applying that less pressure with the brush. And then I'm going to come in with the center or in the center with Chipped Sapphire. Again, it's kind of going to look a little messy, but we really need to work between those two colors. I'm also protecting my work surface and or not my work surface, my cardstock and my fingertips with a post-it note. So this is where I'm really coming in with a speckled egg and going over that transition line a little bit to help blend those two together and make that a little bit more seamless. When I am picking up the ink, this is something I wanted to share too. I am pushing down on the ink pad and I'm also twisting it. I'm pushing down to really pick up some of that ink. My crackling campfire is still pretty juicy because I haven't really used it as much. To be honest, I've kind of neglected my distress oxides and I really need to dig them out more because there are so many fun properties to these. Now, this one again, I really did have to go back and forth between the chipped sapphire and that crackling campfire. And again, it's not going to look great, but once we stamp on top of it, you're just going to be amazed by the transition or transformation of these two card panels. Now, the Wildflower stamp set that I want to use is a pretty large set. It actually has two different wildflower scenes on it, and I knew it was going to overhang my cardstock. So I brought out a sticky mat that I'm placing my cardstock into the center to. So it's going to hold my cardstock down. A lot of times, the stamp sets will pick up your cardstock. So that sticky mat is going to help ensure it stays in place. Also, note you want to make sure your ink blending is dry, or you could risk ripping your paper once you pick up your stamp with the door of the Misty, or even after you stamp it. So, I did line up one of the wildflower images, and I am going to ink it up with a Versafine Clair. This is a really nice ink for doing silhouette stamping. It does stay wet for a little bit longer than a normal ink, and sometimes I will stamp it twice, which means I really need to be careful and set it off on the side to dry so I don't smear it. Now, this one I felt needed to have a second stamp, which is why I have that sticky mat in there. It held my cardstock in place so it didn't move. To remove this from the sticky mat, I'm going to just pick that up out of my Misty and I'm going to bend that sticky mat in half. And that's going to help pop up my cardstock so I'm not ripping it when I'm taking it off. Now you can see already how that card is starting to come together. And the colors aren't really that far off. It's almost like a fall autumn type of sky. This one, I think you will be amazed. So again, I place that onto my sticky mat and I am stamping so that the lightest color is always towards the bottom. I am using the other image out of that wildflower stamp set. I'm going to stamp that down once again in that Versafine Clair ink. And I think this one really kind of was, what do we want to call it? Hiding in the shadows. I think it came out fantastic. So the sentiment that I'm going to use is this Novella Script Hello die. It's kind of small, but it's going to be perfect, I think, because then we have that simple greeting on the front and this beautiful scene in the background. I was struggling a little bit at first on what kind of cardstock I wanted to use. I had gold, the champagne and silver matte cardstocks. I landed on champagne and silver. I just thought those colors kind of tied into the backgrounds a little bit better. So I am using my mini intricate die cut machine to die cut those sentiments out. And I do have a media grip mat underneath it so that it is not sliding around on my glass work surface. When I did my die cutting, here I have the champagne, which I planned to use with that kind of autumn background. And then the silver, I went with the blue. Now, the silver didn't look quite as good up there by the crackling campfire. So I'm most likely going to place that down in the blue section. I also went ahead and I die cut out six more hellos out of a heavyweight cardstock to stack my sentiment up. I'm adding liquid glue to the back of the sentiment. I have a paper towel there that I like to just kind of tap off any excess glue. And then I can layer these together using my tweezers and I'm able to kind of squeeze those letters together to make sure that they're lined up. Now, before I glue on the actual metallic cardstock, I cleaned the grip media mat that I'm working on. I cleaned my fingers so I didn't have any residue of the glue left there. So I just wiped everything nice and clean because I tend to get marks and smudges on my matte metallic cardstock. So I added dabs of glue to the back of the sentiment. Again, I just tapped the back of that onto some paper towel to remove any excess. And then I placed something heavy on those and let that sit for a minute. So while those are drying, I wanted to take advantage of the reactive properties of the Distress Oxide inks, which are water reactive. So I have just some water on my work surface that I picked up with a paintbrush and then splattering that on the background. I also wanted to add some more splatters of just something on there, something shimmery. And I'm digging out my Distress Mica stain in a frozen fog. It's like I'm digging out all the oldies but goodies because some of these things I have not touched or done in a while. So I placed that on my work surface, splattered the blue background with the frozen fog. And for this kind of orangish yellow one, I'm doing the antique linen distress spritz. Oh, I should also note that even before the splatters, I had trimmed my panels down. I do love them as a full card front, but I kind of wanted to have a white border around it to really make them pop. So I had trimmed my panels down to be 3.5 by 4 3/4. I aligned the back of it with some foam tape and popped it up on a white card base. So this is 4 1/4 by 5.5. I added liquid glue to the back of my matte champagne metallic cardstock sentiment, and I'm going to use my tweezers to help place that up towards the top of the panel. Then once again, I just placed something heavy on the top of it and I'm going to work on that second card. Again, I just had trimmed that down. I added the foam tape to the back and I'm placing this on my A2 size side folding card base. Now with the silver sentiment, this probably took me a good 3 minutes to figure out exactly where I wanted that sentiment to go. I ended up just right here, not quite in the bottom corner, but up just a little bit. I really liked that sentiment in the blue area. Now, I thought about adding a little bit of embellishments in there, but because the background is pretty busy already with my splatters, I decided not to. And I love how these came out. Such unique color combinations. And I hope those tips on blending, especially colors you probably wouldn't normally use, I hope those tips that I share help you in creating your seamless blends. And if your Distress Oxides have been sitting for a while, dust those babies off, put them to use, and have some fun with those reactive properties. Now, once again, I will have all of my supplies used linked down below in the video description and over on my blog. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. And then be sure to hit the notification bell so you are not missing out on any future videos. Thank you all so much for spending time with me today. Here is another video that I think you will enjoy.